Source consciousness wants to express itself through you in a very particular way. So it
Yes,
gave you a
yes.
certain set of skills, like put you in a certain family, put you in a certain path, whatever, in order to give you a talent, whatever it is, because that is the way source consciousness wants to
Mm-hmm.
express itself
Just
through you. Now you've told yourself and you've told your brain that I can trust, or I'm leaning
mm-hmm.
into trust. So if you act as if you're gonna try and force and make something happen, that is not in alignment with someone who trusts. Your energy understands itself very well. It wants to be
Mm-hmm.
close to this or close to that, or it
Mm-hmm.
wants to express itself in a very particular way.
Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Art of Being podcast, a secret space where we dive into spirituality, healing, manifestation, and all the magic of becoming. We explore the depth of the human experience, the pain, the triggers, the healing, the expansion, the joy, and what it means to move through life with awareness and intention. I am Bamzi, a mindset and manifestation coach. I'm so glad that you're here. Take a deep breath, settle in, and let's journey together.
Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the Art of Being. With me in the studio is Tiffany, who, if you're not new to this podcast, you know that I've had Tiffany before. And it's been almost a year since we did an episode about intuition. So thank you so much for coming again to the Art of Being, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and in that episode, we shared how we know each other. We have a history.
Yes,
We've
we
known each
do.
other for
A long
for quite
time.
a while. Yes, yes, over 10 years. um, so if you didn't listen to Daphne's episode, she's an intuitive seer, a spiritual guide, and coach, and she's based in Lisbon. And actually, Tiffany is such a good writer. But I've been reading some of your work on Substack. Oh my God, you write so well.
Thank
You write
you.
so well.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah. Besides talking, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my favorite ways to just express myself. I was actually quite insecure about writing, but I've always been like a poet and I wrote music, and so it just felt like quite natural for me to get into that space of writing.
Yeah. When I met you like several years ago, you were still writing. At the time, you were writing and performing poetry.
Hmm.
Like at the time, like knowing that you could do that, I used to like admire that in you for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I definitely am insecure about my writing. And
okay.
anyone that writes well, I like admire so much. Like I have a younger brother who's also such a good writer. So whenever I read his
Hmm.
writing, I'm like, like your imagination or whatever, like the way you can put words together is just,
Hmm.
such a beautiful thing
Yeah,
to have. Yeah.
and I think it just takes practice as well. Something that I'm doing, or I have been doing in the last few months, is really looking at the qualities that I admire in other people and being able to like create like almost a roadmap for myself of like what I like, a roadmap to like who I'm becoming as well, because I a lot of admiration really comes from a place of course, like being able to recognize talent in someone else, but for someone like me, there's stuff that I know I am going towards, but I would always see myself as separate from that person or separate from that particular talent. And really, the difference between me and them is just time, right? Like how much
Yeah,
time
that's
have I put into my craft? Because I just saw Doja Cat. I actually have a fun manifestation story around
yeah.
that. I got a free ticket to see Doja
Oh
Cat
my
the other
God.
day.
Mhm.
And as you know, I'm a performer, and I've always seeing these artists that because in my head I'm a pop star or like an Afro pop star. But I also do like indie, soft rock. Like I'm kind of versatile. I kind of see myself a little bit like similar to Willow in that she's following her own path of discovery through music and is not being put in a box, and I feel very similar. But from the performance aspect, like I've always been a dancer and like da, da, da. So I saw Dodger for free, by the way. Thank you, universe, for that.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear that manifestation story. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I saw Dodger and I saw her on stage, and I think when I've seen people that I admire, usually it's like, oh, like, I mean, I'm so happy for them, but there was like another, like almost contrasting thought or feeling that would happen within me around like, oh, I wish it was like, I wish I could do that. Like, that feeling, and it makes you sink a little bit, right? And, but that day when I looked at her, I was like, actually, this is a culmination of how much devotion and time she's put into her craft. Because I called a cousin of mine like a few days later, and she was like, Tav, don't forget that you used to be a teenager in Botswana hyping Doja Cat up when she was still posting on SoundCloud, when she had just released like So High, which is like one of her like big singles. And this is when Doja was still just making her own beats and all this stuff, and now look at her, look where she is
Right.
now. And so I think it's just about, again, like time put in. I've never set myself up to, I don't see myself as like a prolific writer. I just see myself as someone who enjoys the process and is continuously doing that. And that's the same for a lot of the stuff that I do now. I just started putting some bricks down and putting some foundations down, and now I'm looking back, I'm like, whoa. how like I can't believe I'm good at this thing, or I can't believe I'm doing this thing now. And it just took like one step. So if you really want to write,
Yeah.
or if you're someone who wants to get into writing, or like, don't be afraid to be a beginner, because it's just, some things you just gotta
Yes.
work at.
Yes, absolutely. I love what you just said, because I feel like when you admire something in somebody, it's because that person is kind of reflecting something that's within you. That's why like
Yeah.
there's that admiration, because otherwise like you wouldn't, like if I saw somebody like a woodworker, like it's not gonna do anything to me, right? So why is writing doing something to me internally, right? So it's just a reminder of like that person is reminding you of like what you have, you know. Same
Yes.
as like sometimes same as like when it's not an admiration, when it's like you're jealous of something. Sometimes it's like a reminder of like what part of you is not reaching for that thing, what part of you is,
Yeah.
is desiring that thing, but you're not paying attention to it, right? So that's how I see it. It's just like a reminder of like, yeah, that person is just reminding you of something, because otherwise like I really enjoy good writing, and I'm like, I wish I could get to that level. It's because like there's a part of me that wants that to be,
There's a part of you that knows
Yeah.
that that's where
Yes.
that like you have the potential to
Yes.
get there, and like we said, like admiration doesn't necessarily always mean that that's where you're going to go, but if it lights you up and
Yeah.
it's something that you're interested in, like, give it a shot.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, so Tav is here to talk about manifestation, and I'm so glad that like we're talking about that, given the fact that you manifested a free ticket to go to see Doja Cat, right? Because today we're talking about manifestation, and before we get started on the questions or the topic, dive into what manifestation is and what our thoughts are and how we experience manifestation. I actually want to hear, how did you manifest this free ticket?
Yeah, so I manifest a lot of things. Like, I actually think, and we'll talk about this maybe a bit later, that I believe manifestation to be a natural instinct as opposed to something that you impose. Of course, it intention is important, but I do think like human beings, like we are built for that to some degree. So so yeah, it was a pretty simple, very straightforward manifestation. I think everyone has their own techniques. I'm a big fan of writing. Again, we're coming back to the writing. So I had a few threshold tasks that I found myself avoiding. So, when you're like, I know I have to like file that paperwork or I have to do something and it's like boring and you don't want to do it. Yeah, and you're like, taxes, I have to do. That was actually one of them. I was like, like I have to talk to my accountant, I have to do this. And I was in a bit of an avoidance cycle. And I was still productive, but I just there were these big things that felt bigger in my head than they actually were. So I wrote a contract with the universe. I saw it on TikTok, but I always to be honest, making contracts with the universe wasn't something new to me. It's something that I've done over the years, but I hadn't thought about doing it with this particular thing. So I hadn't thought about like, oh, like I can actually be rewarded for doing stuff that I don't want to do. So I was like, oh, okay, let me do that. So I just wrote it down and I was like, okay, like when I finish like these tasks, universe, please bless me with gifts, unexpected things, and and then put it away, because I'm the type of person that there are some techniques that require a lot of repetition, and I think that can be important, especially for affirmations. But for contracts, I really like, once it's sealed, it's done. I feel like, okay, it's done. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a week. No, I finished at least 3 of those threshold tasks, because now I had a little bit of motivation. I was like, yes, okay, the universe is gonna bless me with some stuff. I'm excited. So I finished it, and I was just home in bed because I had a sinus infection and I was just like not feeling good. And in one of the group chats that I was in, I saw someone messaged and was like, hey, like, I'm not in town, but I bought this ticket to see Doja Cat. Does anyone want it for Mahala? Because it was in like a South African expat group thing. And I just stared at it. Because I was like, no ways. Like, my brain was like, first of all, I didn't even know Doja Cat was in town. I didn't know. And I didn't know at all. Because I'm a fan of her, but I don't see myself as like a diehard. Like, I don't really like. There's a few artists that I like follow like that, or just like life, and she's incredible. So I waited. I actually waited. I didn't immediately jump on it because I was like,
you didn't reply.
No, not right away, because I was like, there's no way this is still, because it had been a bit, right? Like, it had been a couple of minutes, I think, and I was like, someone must have already messaged them already.
Right.
And then I was like, nah, I'm just gonna message her. She was like, no, it's still, like, I still have the ticket, and she sent me the screenshot, and it was in Golden Circle, so it wasn't even like it was like very close to the stage. And it was within, and mind you, this message came in an hour before the show.
What? Yeah,
that's how I knew.
Yeah,
that's how I knew it was the universe. Yes, that's how I knew, because because sometimes spirit like takes me out of things or puts me in things, but very, very quickly. Like, and that's when I know, I'm like, the universe is moving. Because if it had been like maybe the day before, I would like, I just got a lucky break. But because it was like within the hour, so I'm panicking. I'm like taking a shower. I jumped out of my bed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get ready. Got there. Actually, when I got there, they didn't accept my screenshot. They wanted the PDF. So I started calling her. I was like, oh my God. I was like, please. It's like, I was like out in the cold, and I looked like I was trying to get in for free. But like, I had to take. I was like, so she finally sent me the PDF. This poor girl. I think I called her like 5 or 6 times, or 10. I don't even remember. I just remember being like, this is so annoying. But I'm outside and the concert is starting. It was literally starting. I could hear people screaming. I could hear people screaming inside, and but she sent it to me, and I apologized. I was like, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. And I got in, and it was just incredible. And even like the lyrics were exactly what I needed to hear at that time, and for her new album. And like I said, again, I remember just standing there and being like, that's what I want to do. I was like, that's exactly where I want to go in terms of performance. Like, she just seemed so free in herself. And I was like, I see why I was supposed to come here, but also thank you so much. So I feel like that was a cute little manifestation story. But I have a lot. Like, I have a lot of stories of genuinely just trusting that I'm co-creating with the universe. And yeah.
My God, that's amazing. I feel like immediately when you said that it happened within an hour, like within 1 hour, then I also knew,
Yeah.
like, I also clocked it and was like, yeah, that's how usually it happens. It's like when you least expect, when your mind is not thinking about whatever contract you made, right? And it came in, you said unexpected gifts, right? And you weren't specific, but this is like a gift also that reminded you, like when you were on that stage watching, it reminded you of like, oh, okay, there's a part of me that really wants to get to this point. Oh, I love
Exactly.
that for you.
Thank you.
I love that for you. Yeah. So today we're talking about identity-based manifestation, right?
Yes.
I feel
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
I feel like the conversations that I see, and also I'm sure you can relate with this, that you see online about manifestation, it's always about like getting something that you don't have, right?
Yes.
But I think there's a
yes.
lot that's not talked about. There's a lot that's ignored, and especially about like the identity that you have to assume in order for you to get whatever. And for me, like in my own journey, I feel like what I'm learning is that manifestation for me, at least, is more about like becoming more than
Yes.
like just getting the actual thing. Okay, so let's talk about like, when people get fixated on like getting the thing. In your experience, what happens when you focus so much on just getting the physical thing? Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good question. When you hyper focus too much on getting the thing when it comes to manifestation, basically I feel like the universe reflects back to you the feeling of the wanting, right? So
Yes.
you say, universe, I want this thing, but what's happening is, because you are a reflection of source consciousness, and you are just again an extension of that source consciousness, the universe is just going to reflect back to you the feeling that you set out to have. So if you put out the wanting, it will keep the wanting present.
I don't have.
So yes, I don't have. So I feel like what Western, at least what I think Western or modern spirituality, and again, Western doesn't always mean bad. Western is just that it's commodified. It ends up being more commodified and kind of watered down. So manifestation is not the technique of getting the thing, only getting the thing. I think that it's like ancient knowledge around like knowing that you can be the thing, or be the person that has the thing.
Absolutely.
Because I think if you focus on the technique of wanting, it's almost like you convince your brain that you don't have it, that there's a lack of it. And so it's not just about believing and appearing. You also have to like focus your attention in that direction. because with anything, right, identity precedes behavior, right?
Yeah.
When you become the person, you make the choices that align with who that person is, and then the opportunities, the results, the karma, the consequences, they essentially compound. So and I like to use this analogy, and it might be a little bit like funny, but you know, when a liver, when you have your liver, right? The liver has its function. It knows what it's supposed to do. And it's just operating in that way. Like the brain then just supports the brain, or the other organs around it are gonna help to support the liver's function. So the same way, I think that's the same way we are like as individuals. So if you decide like, this is my identity, like I am the tribe goddess, and this is my, like my vocation in life is to teach people about manifestation. It's to do readings, to share my music, to be a channel for spirit. What happens is the universe, because you are that reflection, it's going to support in relation to your identity. So you can't like think your way into, like, your thoughts help, but you can't think your way into manifestation only, because your heart actually, which a lot of people don't know, the heart actually produces a larger electromagnetic field than the brain.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of
And
people
so,
don't know that. Yeah.
exactly, they don't know that. And so your state of being, it really is going to depend on that coherence, your ability to have your heart, your mind, your body not produce any cognitive, like you don't want cognitive dissonance. You want to be in alignment in order to bring it. So focusing too much on the thing brings, it's almost like you're putting it on a pedestal and you're separating yourself. We do that also in religion, right? In religion, what they did was and again, I'm not shaming any religions. I think I respect everyone's choice to express their spirituality. But what they did was they made it so that God was separate from you.
Yes.
God was a separate entity. And that was the issue. That was like the biggest problem, because people made God out to be like, they personified God to be separate, and that separation is actually just like a distortion. It's a distortion of what's actually happening. So yeah, once you feel yourself to be that person, then you don't feel separate from it, and then the actions that allow you to be the same frequency to that thing, it's just gonna happen a lot. It's a lot easier that way. I'm not saying that you can't like wanting doesn't only, I think I try and shy away from saying there's only one way to do things. I just think you get better results when you start from identity, because I think the brain also follows suit.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You've said so many things that I'm like, I don't want to understand, because you've said you've talked about, the identity, and you talked about alignment. So I just want to keep track of things that I want us to like specifically go into these things. I think like what you said is so important, because I feel like the reason why a lot of people focus on the wanting is that separation that you talked about, feeling like when God is outside of you, then you're separate, then it's like you're almost like in a victim, and you have to beg the power, the power that's outside of you. And so most of the time, the wanting also, I feel like, comes from wounding, right? Because it comes from wounding, because you feel like, okay, like whatever I want is gonna fix the problems that I have, right? So that's why it's like, okay, your focus is just like, when I get that, when I finally have that thing, when I finally have that thing, it's because when you what you're talking about, when you change your identity and you become that person, you change your relationship to wanting, because you no longer want something because there's no wounding, right? There's nothing to
Yes.
fix. There's nothing to
I
fix.
like
So
that.
therefore, like yeah. So I think like what I want to talk about then is like the work that's involved in becoming that identity, because I feel like that's what a lot of people, are not willing to do. Because in order for you to become, so that you can change your relationship to wanting, there's a lot of work that's involved. In your experience, what is that work that is required in order for you to become that identity? Yeah,
that's a great question. Of course, like the initial thing is the deciding, right?
yes, knowing what you want, right?
The knowing.
Yeah.
I was very lucky in that I think we spoke about this in the other podcast where I said my earliest memories of what I perceived to be God or source consciousness were when I was very, very young. And so I knew that I carried the energy of the goddess very early. So I actually started calling myself the tribe goddess, like, I think I was like 18 or 19.
Yeah,
So
it's been a
like
while, girl. You've
a
had that
long time.
identity for quite a while.
Yeah. And I didn't feel like I was, I mean, a lot of it you can decide. But I think I already always felt it. But for those who are looking to find what, like carry an identity that is completely different from what they know, first you have to make a decision, right? You have to decide who, like,
And
it
you
always
have to
starts
know
there.
also. It starts with a desire
a desire first, and then a decision. Because again, like, because you can have a desire but not act on it, and then the decision is where you break that from just thinking about it to actually doing it. So then you decide, and then you get very clear about how does this person live, how does this person move, how do they make decisions, how do they live their life, like day-to-day habits, like down to being very, very specific. And you don't have to do it all at once. Like, I'm a very big fan of stacking. Remember what I said I was in the beginning, where I was like, so I just looked back and I was like, whoa, I can't believe I've been doing this for so long. But I didn't even see myself as like, I didn't even see the building blocks that I was putting in, the time and the devotion and the effort that I was putting in over time. And so you can identify those habits, actions, things, ways of being, ways of thinking, that a person who has what you are desiring would do, right? Like, if you're desiring love, like, you if you're focused on not having a relationship or whatever, it's going to just be amplified in your energy, because your nervous system is also the amplifier of the energy that already exists within you. So but if you see yourself as someone who already has love, who is already connected to love, the likelihood of you finding someone that is, a match to you, I think, is a lot higher, or it can be higher, depending on your intention. So it takes like a real daily commitment to that narrative or the story that you understand about that identity, right? But it's not gonna happen. For me, at least, I feel like, I mean, it depends. I'm very quick at it, but if you're someone like me, who had to do a lot of deconditioning or unconditioned, what is the word, when you like understand your own conditioning and then like throw it away, essentially. Like, you have to like uncover everything that you've been taught about who you think you are, and then rewrite it through this new identity. And so it takes the work. It's grueling. You're going, and here's the thing that I want a lot of people to know: the ego will fight back. the ego will fight back. And I don't really love the word ego death, but I understand why it's used now in that way, because death is just a transformation. So it's a way in which your ego transforms. So the ego is the protective mechanism of the identity that you're already holding, or the conditioned self. And it's just there so that you don't break your because when your identity breaks, like, you can feel so lost, and it really it's not as light as we talk about it in words. It's very deep and painful, and it's not something that people actively want to do, because it's painful to sit with yourself and be like, maybe that's not who I am, and trying to figure out who am I. And then, so I do think identity is flexible in that way, but it is helpful to decide for yourself what feels good, what identity feels good to you, and then go in that direction. So in terms of I don't know if I answered your question, but
you did because
okay, good.
you did, because a lot of like what you talked about deconditioning, and that's, I feel like that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? Because you are so attached to the identity that's based on the things that you were told, the things that you picked up, right? And that is so ingrained in your subconscious, because a lot of these things you're not aware. It's not, some of these things, it's not things that you can see, because when you see something, you can easily change it. But a lot of it is in the subconscious, right? And it's so deeply ingrained in you. So that's why it's like so hard. And that's where people get stumped, or like somebody starts to change, and then the ego, as that you mentioned, comes in. The subconscious wants to protect you, and it's like, over there where you're trying to go, we don't know how it's going to be. All we know is here, and this is safe for us. This is what we know. So therefore, like, going over there, that is a dangerous territory, and we don't want to do that. So of course you would want to, like, if you don't understand, for a lot of people that don't understand like what's actually happening, you might retreat back and be like, I just want to be safe because that's comfortable, right? So yeah, a lot of that deconditioning is, it's so important, and it's like the work that's required. So you did answer the question. That's the work that's required. So like, in order for you to change your identity, you need to understand what's going to happen in the process. That process of like the conscious and subconscious, and how that plays into changing your identity. So that's of course, that's for me. I was also lucky. When I say lucky, I mean like, I was literally, my identity was like shifted without choice.
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
I did sign up.
Yeah. You think I thought that I would be the no, like, it just happens to you. For
me, it's like I just found myself in a place where like I just had to shed a lot by crying, where like, for years and years, and in the process of like that shedding and that crying and that releasing, I found myself in a place where like I'm no longer attached to that old identity. But it was like a very excruciating. So the deconditioning was very excruciating. Like, it was through crying, through like nervous system work, in order for me to get to a place where like my identity is very fluid, right? If I desire something, right now I'm not fixated on whatever. Even when I introduce myself, I don't define myself by one thing. I'm just like, I'm this human, and I can choose tomorrow, like, I'm learning tarot, for example. And it's so exciting, right? So I'm like, it's something that I could do tomorrow, right? I'm not, I'm in the void where like the universe is a blank canvas, and it's something to play with. But anyway, so that's really beautiful. Like, that work is so important, and it's necessary, right? Yeah.
And that's why I also say it's not about, becoming, of course, to you're becoming someone new, but I really believe that it's a lot of this work is when you're going in the direction of your desire, you're going in the direction of your true identity, your actual,
Right.
like what feels more
Absolutely.
more like without the masks, without the conditioning. Like you can think about it as like a snake, removing the skin,
Yes.
because underneath it's actually who you actually are at your
Yes.
core, and it's more in alignment with what your soul actually is, like really loves to be in, or is comfortable. I hate
Yeah.
like the word like what you feel more like, you're more of yourself. So you're not trying to
Yeah.
become someone completely new. The reason why you want to even become that new person is because your soul wants it. Like it's calling for it. It's something that you've always, you came to this
Yeah.
3D reality wanting. This was the way, I think, in which source consciousness wanted to express itself through you. But because, again, like we have schools, family, environment, friends, relationships, all kind of dictating who we believe we are, and not getting clear about, or we were not taught how to get clear about it, right? So then the goalpost is continuously moving back and forth, and once you get it more solidified, it's a lot easier to manifest the things that you want, or manifest
Yeah.
the life that you desire.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
through being that person that you can get the thing.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love what you said about like you're not becoming something. It's like you're just letting go of who you're not. Who the false
yes,
identity.
exactly. You're letting go of the false identity that's holding you back from the person that you know yourself to be, or know yourself that you could
Yeah.
be, if
Yeah.
you just allow and allow yourself to evolve. Because that's also why my coaching program is called Conscious Evolution, because I really
I love
believe
that.
that it's that change, but you're doing it with intention. Like you're doing it consciously. You're changing yourself consciously. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that false identity. Oh, you know my history. You know that I studied political
Yes.
science, international relations.
Yes.
You know how deeply I was attached to that identity of this person that wants to be like a diplomat in the world, that writes. I was a really good writer when it came to like analytical writing in political science and whatever. So I was so attached to it. You know, my ego found like, something to like deeply attach to. And so that's what I had to shed in order to remember that, this is me. Like, because that was a false identity that I picked up, right? But now that I'm on this side, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that for several years, I believed that this is who I was. The world kept mirroring, reflecting back to me, because I wasn't feeling that I was fitting in work situations, in the international sector when I tried to work. And literally the universe is telling me like, hey, this is not who you are. And part of that was like, I felt dissatisfied internally. Right. But then my ego is so attached to this thing that I cannot see what's happening. And then so that dissatisfaction made me think like, I need to add another degree. I went for my master's. My master's was in the same field. And that was born out of that internal dissatisfaction. So I'm like, okay, let's add education and maybe that would get us to a better place. I get my master's. I'm still dissatisfied. I'm like crying. I didn't tell you, but I was not happy.
I could sense it. Yo, I think we are both going through it, honestly. Like, yeah, that was such a crazy time. Yeah.
So that like if you're in this space and you're wondering like, how do I know, you can start like actually deeply reflecting and digging deeper. Like if you feel dissatisfied internally, that is a calling for you to go within and get to know yourself, right? Instead of like immediately thinking it's an external thing, like if I get that thing, then it's gonna fix me. Because me getting my master's was still coming from wounding. It was coming from lack. right? It wasn't
Yeah.
coming from like my soul genuinely wants to get a master's and actually do this, work in the international sector.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you're like sitting, feeling dissatisfied. You're doing the deconditioning work, and like you said, it's like very, very hard. What do you like in terms of like the turning point? Like, what was like the big turning point for you when you said, okay, like I am ready to like reshape myself? Because I know you said you did the masters and everything, and I think we talked about the reading, but I'm not sure like what really, because I think that's why it's called an awakening, right? Because you're awakening to who you've always been. So what was that for you?
So for me, the awakening, so it happened in 2019, but it was very like a slow progression, right? It was actually just that internal dissatisfaction. And at the time I was just trying to find myself by like doing personality tests, So like personality tests was like an indication, like they started to tell me like, oh, maybe this is why you're feeling this way. But then eventually I got like a recommendation of The Power of Now. So The Power of Now was the first entry, was the first entry point for me to start to understand like, oh, I'm not my thoughts. Because I was fully, always thought I was my thoughts, right? So that was the beginning. And then, so it was just a slow progression, Power of Now. And as I got into the Enneagram, I started understanding my shadows. So like from 2019, I want to say, and then 2021, when I was plunged into the dark night of the soul. So that's what helped me shed a lot of that deconditioning, because that process of like crying every day, just, begging, like I was, so that the shedding and letting go of the emotions and all of those things that I was holding on for a lot of years just helped me cleanse a lot, right? So in order for me to get to this point, there's a lot that has happened like since 2019. In order for me to get to this place where like my identity is like very fluid. Yeah.
Do you feel like your political
girl, this is my
science?
My part.
Oh, no, wait. No, I'm the coach here. No, I'm kidding. We're both coaches. But no, I'm getting to something, because again, I see a lot of like myself in you at the beginning stages of my evolution. And this is going to be good for someone to hear as well. Do you feel like your political science background or your analytical mind has also helped you to some degree with the work that you're doing now? Do you feel like it influences? Do you feel like you just completely let it go? Or do you feel like there's parts that you could, that there are parts that were helpful to you now in your journey?
That is a very, if they were helpful, I don't know if I've gotten there where like I'm using them, because I have like I have a lot of understanding of like, political issues. There's a lot of suffering in the world, so I'm very aware of like what's, so in that sense, like I understand, suffering and understanding like what's going on in, what do I want to say? Like what the earth is going through, right? Like that political science gives me as a spiritual work, as a light work or whatever, gives me that kind of like context, as I would have put it. But in terms of just actively using that degree, I mean, like it did,
Yeah, not the degree.
I don't know.
Not the degree. Not the
Yeah,
degree.
yeah.
No, not the degree.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the skill set, the things that you had to learn, whether that was like the endurance, whether that was like being like having again like the skills of being analytical, like having that kind of mind. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm such a believer of your conditioned self and your false self. That path was so necessary. It was very necessary to your journey coming here now. And I think what we don't talk about enough is the shame that some people, not saying this is you, but I'm saying I want whoever's listening to have a concept of this, that you don't have to shame the past self or the false self. There's no need to see that self as unnecessary for your growth. I
don't
everything
see it as, yeah.
Good. Yeah, I just want people, because I think sometimes it's like, yeah, because I think that at least in my students, my clients, what I see a lot is a shame around the conditioning, shame around the things that they, like the person that they used to be. And I continuously will bring it up to say, no, they brought you here. You are here because of them, not in spite of them. And so there's a need to understand that what you were doing was a form of also integration. So even in evolution, like whatever like the species that has changed into whatever, they learn from that experience, and their bodies, it changes based on what they've learned. Even in plants, they do this, right? You know this, where if they were born into a terrain, or if they were if a certain plant was grown in a certain terrain, they learn what was happening and they plant it into the seed, right? Into the next seed. So that next seed becomes more resilient now in that environment. So the same thing as human beings, right? We when we're doing this, we're continuously becoming stronger in our conviction and our knowledge and in what we're doing. So as you are wanting to shed your old self or your conditioned self, just remember that this identity shifting is not it should not come from a place of shame, but rather curiosity about what you are capable of and your potential.
Yeah, and I completely agree, because it's not, so for me it's that thing of like wondering, it's not shame, but rather
Exactly.
like, oh, I truly thought like this is who I was. And the way that I, like, some of the language that I use, even though it's not similar, like sometimes when the framework that I use of like what stories did I have that kept pushing me to go forward, or like what voices, what was I hearing in my mind? Like one of the strongest hashes is a critic that I've always had that is pushing me, like kept pushing me. And I see that as like a lot of these things propelled me to get to where I was, right? So it's understanding that they actually really helped me. Like in fact, I've been in a space where, like, I told you last time, like I was let go, right? But when I was let go, like I've been surviving out of my savings. And if I hadn't gotten my master's, I wouldn't have gotten that job that I got that allowed me to save, that has helped me, be able to survive. So, I completely agree with what you're saying, right? So, and I actually don't operate from shame at all. There's no part of me that needs to be shamed. It's like every single thing, part of you wants to serve you in a way, and it's a part of you, and it's there for a reason, and it helped you survive, because a lot of these things developed to help us like survive at some point where like at the time we didn't know any other way to survive and move forward. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. So then I wanted us to get back on, this is a great conversation. I'm sure somebody is going to benefit from hearing that they don't need to shame, if they haven't figured out like who they want to become. Like actually, like shame is the thing that keeps people suffering. It's the thing that keeps people stuck. So I feel like if people can embrace anything that's happening with curiosity and love, I think that is the only way. Because from that place of curiosity and love, then you can be like, okay, this is showing me something, it's teaching me something. What is it teaching me? Then I can try to figure out and then move forward for myself. But anyway, coming back to Me interviewing you, or I'm kidding. Coming back to the manifestation.
It's a sign for me to start my own podcast.
Yeah. So, yeah, because clearly, you know, you want to ask people these questions. Uh,
I was just curious.
no, that's okay. And I mean, you and I are friends and we've known each other for a long time. So it only happens with somebody like you, right? Anyway, so coming back to the manifestation, we've talked about identity a lot. We've talked about, you know, like what you need to shed. And some of the things maybe we didn't talk about that are involved is also, as you're shedding, you're also shedding like old beliefs, old stories, you know, and that is like what allows you then to assume this new identity with new beliefs, with new behaviors, with new habits in order for you then to become that person on a day-to-day basis as you're becoming the version. What does that look like practically for somebody? You know, like let's say like I know that you said that in order for you to get to this place where you are like writing, you know, like you're such a good writer. Let's use that as an example. And maybe this is what Doja Cat was doing or whatever. But you, as you were building these things, maybe sometimes you didn't know that you were going to be, you were just putting the blocks, you know?
Yeah.
But like on a day-to-day basis, what were the things you were doing in order for you to become this person?
So I don't know if I want to be known as a writer. It's kind of spooky.
No, like it's one of the things you do.
It's one of the things I do.
It's one of the things you do. You write, you sing, you perform, you do intuition reading, whatever. Are you a manifesting generator?
I am a manifesting generator, yeah.
High five one manager to another. Whew. We are so interested in so many things.
I know, yeah, multi-passionate people. Like, you can't really put me in a box, but I love it that way. So, okay, we'll use writing as an example. So, I think it's just about putting in the effort and the time, right? Because when you really believe in something, so for example, the reason why I started writing is because I believed that people wanted to hear what I was channeling, because that was like part of what I, you know, it was just part of my path, I think. I think it just requires a certain level of time and devotion. I wasn't doing a lot. I just started saying, because of course, like I think I started writing as a way to process my trauma when I was really young. So I started writing poems when I was like 10. So I had like a little notebook and I was always writing in there for like a couple of years. And then I would write like this stuff that was like bad. Some of it was good. Some of it like I threw away. Some of it I was like, ugh, like this, I would never show this to other people. But I think it's just about like working the muscle of allowing myself to be imperfect and just showing up anyway. And that is a huge part of it. So even as you're manifesting, if you're manifesting wanting to be, for example, a chef, you're not gonna wake up tomorrow and just be a chef, but there's a certain level of belief that you have to have in your ability to show up as that person who's willing to learn. And so that was a lot of it. And even with my Substack, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I have my assistant, and she actually was like a big part of this, where I was like, I know I want to write, but I don't know where I want to write. And she is cool because she has her own podcast as well, and she was like, you should try Substack. And so she got me on Substack, and I just started writing from there. And it was really a way to show myself, remember, like I am not separate from spirit, I am not separate from God. So it was a way for me to show my devotion to myself, my practice, to show up and write every 2 weeks to be there. So I wasn't writing in the beginning just for people to read, it was also for myself. to show myself that I can show up even if I don't know what's going to happen. So it's just a consistent, or that's how you show yourself. So for example, I had the belief that I wasn't consistent. So instead of talking about it and just affirming I'm consistent, I showed my body, I showed myself, I showed my brain,
your nervous system.
I showed my nervous system that it was safe to show up every 2 weeks and write the pieces that I was writing. And that in turn made my brain, again, it influenced my brain to know that I was the person that was consistent. So I showed myself that I was consistent instead of trying to talk my way into being consistent. And so I think that's a very similar way of being. So that I think the doing, being present is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that so much because it's the similar process for me. Like when I started showing up online, I don't know if you know this, but in undergrad, you couldn't put a camera in front of me. I was very uncomfortable on camera, so uncomfortable.
Yeah, you always wanted to be behind the camera.
Yeah, behind the camera. It's just something and this is just not just camera issue. It was also talking in front of people. Standing, even presentations, giving presentations in class was such a hard thing for me. Speaking in front of people when there's an audience, that thing of people are seeing or whatever was so hard for me. So when I started to put myself online, 2024, towards the end of 2024 is when I started to create short videos. And in the beginning, you can tell, I'm so the voice is so low and whatever, I'm still, but because I had shed a lot, because I had just processed a lot of pain, for some reason, I was oh, I could do this, for some reason. And I didn't, of course, the shedding of the pain wasn't because I wanted to start sharing, but it was okay, there's so much to share because I've learned a lot. I've gained a lot of wisdom through my pain. Let's see if I can be able to do this. So my first video was, and I would record and I'm oh, I didn't say that. And I would delete and whatever, right? But I was okay, you know what? At some point I need to post, right? So I started just posting even when I felt it didn't come out the way I wanted. And then until I got to a point where I felt oh, I could just pick up a camera and just talk and post. I got to that level. And so when I started this podcast as well, so the manifestation of this podcast is not, because people think I want to have a successful podcast, but the work that's involved in that having, it's becoming that person who's hosting a successful podcast. So when I started, I didn't have audience, I didn't have equipment. I was recording on my my iPhone in my house, and we're just having a conversation. I post. Even now, I don't have anyone who's helping me edit. I do everything, right? But at some point, I'm gonna get to that place where I don't do any of this. I just have conversations and everything else is taken care of. And so manifestation is actually the process. It's not finally the goalpost is that successful podcast. So it's just this whole process of becoming, and the things that I've had to shed in the process, because some of that for me has been in the beginning, the metrics, who's watching, whatever. So it's coming back, even the TikToks or whatever, coming back and confronting the wounds of oh my gosh, I didn't get what I expected, and understanding where that's coming from, and addressing that as you go. Because as you go, a lot of this, if you're not addressing that, then you're not really becoming, right? So it's just addressing things that are coming up on the way to becoming. So that's what it looks like for me, on a daily basis. It's addressing things that come up, things that tell me, oh, because you didn't get X number of views, then whatever you said was not important. Who's saying that? Whose voice is that? Where's that coming from?
And why you make, and how you make meaning of it,
So So if you're listening to this, you can hear that like it's a process.
It really is a process, because I feel like you can get frustrated when you don't get what you want, right? Like, I'm frustrated because I didn't get exactly the thing that I want. But if you are like, when you come from an identity based base or whatever, then you can alleviate yourself from the mental suffering around it, right? Bamzi, you have a successful podcast.
Thank you.
You have a successful podcast.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
operating. You've had so many amazing guests on there. You have a culmination of like view, like it just it already is happening. So I think I think you using that as an example was perfect way, because it's not about like measuring. We're not measuring. Manifestation is actually very natural. It's not again something that you should be thinking too hard about. It really is about just focusing your attention in a certain direction and then taking aligned action in that direction, and then deciding for yourself what is the reward here. And for us, for example, the reward is just the showing up. Like, I love it. I love it here. That's why yesterday when you sent me you're like, hey, did you get the link? I was like, I didn't get the link. We're meeting tomorrow. And I was like, oh snap,
like a month ago. I think I said it.
I know, but I was waiting, because I kept waiting. Like, I was actually just like, yeah, she'll send it to me. She'll send it to me. Like,
what?
I was waiting for you for the email. Yeah, but I didn't see the thing for some reason. And then I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to meet with you tomorrow, because I love having these conversations. I love being a part of this. I love supporting your podcast. Like, I always, don't you always see me there? I'm always reposting.
Yeah, you're there. I love it. I love it.
I love being in the engagement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think the topics that you're bringing up, the conversations that you're bringing up are so important, and they might be like the thing that helps another person grow and go through that deconditioning or reconditioning process. And why not be there for that if possible, or make yourself available for that. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. And so I want to you said something, taking aligned action. So I actually want to talk about alignment, right?
Okay.
So because it's part of it's part of that process. Like manifestation, people mention that, oh, you have to be aligned. You also have to take aligned action. So yesterday, I actually on Threads, I asked people like, how do you know? Like, if you're, how do you know how can you tell you're aligned? I was just trying to understand like other people's, how they're able to tell. So for example, as a manager and like yourself, I can tell that I'm not aligned when I'm frustrated. Literally, when I'm just living out of frustration, like I'm just frustrated, something is not happening, I know that I'm not aligned. It shows up differently for other, like different people. And so when I have like peace and calm within, and I'm not wondering what's going to happen, then I know that I'm aligned. But so let's talk about alignment. What is alignment? And what is alignment and what is aligned action? Because that is actually something that a lot of people wonder and don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the definition kind of changes depending on who you talk to. But for me, I believe that because I think everyone has their own unique energetic signature, right? Source consciousness wants to express itself through you in a very particular way.
Yes.
So it gave you a certain set of skills, like put you in a certain family, put you in a certain path, whatever, in order to give you a talent, whatever it is, because that is the way source consciousness wants to express itself through you.
Oh, I love how you put it. So beautiful.
Thank you. Because I think, again, and I'm wondering if I can draw this, because Some
Or people
people,
that are listening, you have to still describe what you,
I have to
because they're like
describe it.
listeners.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
that's so
Mm-hmm.
true. I'm gonna try and draw it, and then I'm gonna describe it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So,
So, and this is how I explain it to my students as well. So,
mm-hmm.
if you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a circle. Okay, there's a big circle,
Uh-huh.
and then
And then
inside of
there's
it,
a
there's
little
another
circle.
circle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see the big circle more as what we would say as universe,
Yes.
like the
Source.
larger source, consciousness, whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
the little circle is actually you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you are not separate from the larger whole, but you
Mm-hmm.
are a part of the larger
Mm-hmm.
situation. But the problem is people picture it almost like you are an expression outside of that,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage you to come and watch it on YouTube if you really want to see, because I
Yeah.
don't know how to.
Just
I
you.
basically I drew a line. I drew a
Yeah.
line outside. So if you
Yes.
are that expression, that means that you came in, your energy came into the 3D reality. It condensed into the 3D reality for a specific, a very, or it has its comforts. Your energy understands itself very well. It wants to be
Mm-hmm.
close to this or close to that, or it
Mm-hmm.
wants to express itself in a very particular way. Of course, you have choice. Like you are also consciousness, so you can create from that space. But your energy really likes to be in a particular way. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so when you're
Yes.
aligned, what I believe, when you're aligned, it means that you are grounded, right? You're grounded in your own energy, which means that your energy signature, or the energy that's flowing through your being, because you're an electric being, you have an electromagnetic field, is
Mm-hmm.
flowing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not stagnant in different places, it's flowing
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you are again, like you are living in coherence. So you're not like,
Yes.
people say, oh, my mind is saying one thing and my heart is
In my
saying
heart to
another.
sing one
There's
other.
none of
Yeah.
that. No,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
none of that. You
Yes.
understand fully what like your mind, your spirit, like and I teach about the auric field as well. So
Mm-hmm.
your auric, everything is aligned, mental body, emotional body, everything is in alignment. So for me, it's just, is everything in agreement?
Mm-hmm.
Is your energy in agreement with, are the parts of you, like, are you
Mm-hmm.
fighting with yourself, or are you at peace with yourself?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel like, and that's what I feel like alignment is, because then when you take aligned action, now when you're moving, or you're taking action that is coming from that aligned place, from that coherent place, when everything is, it's funny because aligned, like the word itself actually explains itself very well. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the definition of the word aligned as well also is describing this feeling. So
Yeah.
it's
Does
like,
not
how
need
do
like
I
any
explain
more
something?
words.
I'm like, alignment is the best word to describe
I
alignment.
think I think people wonder because people wonder like practically what is aligned
Okay,
action, like like how do
right.
I know that this is an aligned action that I'm taking, is what I've seen
Right.
people
So,
ask. Yeah.
I think maybe also just investigating why you're ever doing something, right? So there's two ways. So I think it's investigating why you're doing something. Are you doing something for approval? Are you doing something for, like, and that
Is it
requires you
coming
to
out of
learn.
wounding? In other
Is it
words,
coming
is
out
it
of
coming out of
wounding?
wounding?
Do you
Yeah.
want to fulfill, like, is there something that you're trying to fill a void? Is there something, you know what I mean? Like, you start to investigate that when it comes to, like, the
Yeah.
actions that you're taking. But for
Mm-hmm.
manifestation in particular, you know that there's a specific lifestyle thing, way of being that you want to aspire to, right? Like, I want to be a singer or whatever. And so aligned action just means that I'm making a decision from that place of from the desire, not from the lack thereof, but from the desire, from just pure desire, like just saying, oh yeah, I'm doing it because I want to. There's no, I don't I don't need a plethora of reasons for why I want to do the thing. So I do. So of course, it's like, if I'm a singer, if I want to be a singer, or I am a singer, what does a singer do? What are the aligned actions, aligned in that identity, that a singer would take to become that thing? They would, maybe for someone, they would take lessons, or they would start to go to jam session or open mic or whatever it is. So that's an example practically for you to align yourself with the action that will bring you closer to your manifestation. So because
absolutely.
yeah.
So that investigation is definitely so important, because if you're questioning, like, is this aligned or not, that is a good time to question, right? And because if it's coming out of wounding, if you're telling, if there's a part of you that believes that, oh, this action is gonna get me to a place where, like, I'm gonna be accepted, I'm gonna feel worthy, I'm gonna feel loved, I'm gonna whatever, like, people are gonna see me. People are finally gonna see me as, oh my God, look at that guy, look at that girl, If it's coming from that place, then that is an indication that it's coming from wounding, right? It's not like
right.
right? And sometimes, sometimes it can be, a true desire, but there are wounds that you haven't released. It doesn't mean that it's not a true desire, but it just means that there's more work that you need to do to release or to let go of the false stories that you have about yourself, right? And that you're separate from source. The circle that you drew, right? Sometimes when you believe that you're outside of that, that's when you have, like, the false stories about yourself. And so when you address that, naturally, I think there's just going to be coherence. There's just going to be the heart and mind, like, there's no questioning. It's just coming naturally, like, oh, I'm so curious about that. I want to go there. Like, there's a part of me that's just, it's coming out of, like, oh, it's an excited curiosity, not because it's going to give you something that you don't already have. Yeah.
And I will say, because again, like, manifestation, like, these practices, like, you don't just manifest because like, you're not the like, manifestation is not based in morality, right? So it's just about having that coherence. So that's why it feels like, that's why sometimes from like a worldview, it might feel like bad people, and putting it in quotation marks for those who are listening, bad people get what
things
they want. It's not that they get that they just naturally get what they want. They just have a clearer signal. They know exactly what they want. Whereas
the energy,
I feel like
is
exactly as, like, people like us, for example. Well, I don't know about you, but I was a people pleaser. I was.
Ooh, I think, like, a lot of us are on a spectrum when it comes to people pleasing.
Yeah, like,
it's
a
just a
little
spectrum.
Bit. But
I
was conditioned to be one. I was conditioned to be one because of my upbringing, and that made me again not feel comfortable with even wanting what I wanted. I couldn't even feel good about it. Like, I was like, ugh, why would I want to be a singer? I'm not even worthy of da 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 da. I would make up a story. But people who have people who maybe are in the denser emotions and more again, quotation marks, negative, a lot of them just have, like, a vast determination and, like, focus, and they are also taking aligned action. Believe it or not, they are also taking aligned action to get what they want. And the difference between them and us is that they don't give up. Right? Like, when someone unfortunately wants to cause harm to someone, most of the time they're very determined to do the thing. So for us, even when you're learning to manifest, learning to move through the world, you need to also take yourself very seriously, take the alignment part very seriously, because it's what protects you from from someone being able to move your identity back and forth to convince you of who you are, and that can be
doubt.
that can create holes in your auric field, holes for people to influence you in ways that might not be good for you. So that's also another point.
Yeah, actually, so I know that we've talked for over an hour, and I actually don't want to be too long, but actually there's one thing that I still want us to touch on, and that is, there's also a conversation about like the balance between doing and allowing. And I feel like that because that is also part of the process, right? In manifestation, I feel like you can't talk about this process of becoming without bringing in this element. And I'm using, because I use also like my own journey of becoming, and I'm still like becoming, and we're always becoming. It's a journey, it's not a destination. But there's some times where like, because I was conditioned, or like the survival, whatever strategies that I developed as a child, because I believed that there was no one out there to do it for me. So I therefore needed to take things into my own hands, charge forward, and do everything I need to get for myself. So I have a lot of masculine. I feel like my masculine is like, whew, stronger than my feminine. So because of that masculine, I've found myself in places where like I just constantly want to do. And therefore that part of doing sometimes comes with control, because when you want to do, and you are in that masculine energy, there are sometimes you just want, because you believe, there's a part of it that believes things like you have to do yourself, therefore you have to control. And there's no space for the feminine, there's no space for allowing. And part of that is, so it's like, how do you strike that balance? Because it's very important. I'm learning that the universe is teaching me.
Yes. No, I'm good. I know which stage you're at, and I've been there as well. So I hear you. And I think just before I answer that question, there's again like when we talk about like feminine, masculine energy, of course, like there is like the brute, survival mode of like just doing. But people misunderstand feminine energy as only receiving. Feminine energy is also about positioning. So it also needs you to take action, but it's not coming from a place of rush or run or and so I just wanted to put that out there. So the balance between essentially like pushing through versus surrender. So I believe that that depends now on where you are in your journey. Okay. And I'm gonna say this because I think that everyone is vibrating at a different frequency, and so when you are in survival, you're dense. Your energy is very dense. So it's like you have to move. So it's like trying to push through mud.
Absolutely.
You have to. Yes, you in the beginning.
Because it's dependent on you to eat. Like you're depending on
exactly.
That to eat and
you have to hustle. Yes, 100%. You have to hustle. There's no,
I really
a way
love
around
that you brought that in. I actually
thank you. But then what happens is the more that you start to trust yourself and change your beliefs around, it's almost like you have to start to almost release the idea that you are alone in it, right? First, and that you have to make everything happen. So now you're no longer separate, you are part of. So if I'm part of, then the universe has to hold me. I have to be held naturally. because I'm part of. So it also depends. You have to change those beliefs around, because when you change that state, it's gonna affect your behavior. So when you start vibrating again, vibrating higher or lower is not good or bad. That's not about it. I don't want people to believe that if you're vibrating at a different density, it's different. It's just energy. It's science, right? Like everything has its own electromagnetic charge, and it can be higher on one day or lower another day. It changes. Like it's fine. Your frequency can change. But I think over time, when you practice a higher frequency, what happens is you become less dense. So you're trying to push through. It's now, if you try and operate the same way, it's like you're trying to push through water, and water is very different from mud.
Yes.
Right? Water requires you to flow. So you also have to change the way that you operate, right? And the way that you approach the things that you want to do, because now you've told yourself and you've told your brain that I can trust, or I'm leaning into trust. So if you act as if you're gonna try and force and make something happen, that is not in alignment with someone who trusts that it will work out. That is control. That's like saying, oh yes, I know you're gonna take the trash out. I totally know you're gonna take the trash out, and then taking it out anyway. That means you didn't trust that person to take it out. You see?
Absolutely.
So, and then you keep vibrating, and then there are people who have gotten, I'm not at that point, I think, but it depends on what I'm trying to do. But like, the people who now are vibrating at true, like, I am just me and universe. We're locked in like this. I think I'm still in the water, but like we're locked in like this now that you're even less dense, and your energy moves through air. Right? So now it's just flowing, like there's less resistance. You understand?
Yes.
So you had to hustle because there was more resistance, there was more contrast. You had to fight through the conditioning. Now you have less, so you can't operate the same way. You can't operate the same way. You have to it's not that you have to it's not that you just start allowing. You have no choice but to allow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. There's no choice around it, really.
Yeah, I've had other people use the framework of, when you're in survival, it's like it has to be done by me. And then you step into the next step, which is like through me. And then I think the stage, the air that you were talking about, that stage is like as me, because you are the universe. So it's like happening as you. Like there's no separation between you
That's great.
and source energy. So yeah, I love that so much. I feel like we're coming to the end of this conversation. Is there something that we didn't talk? Because there's actually...
We're gonna have to do another podcast.
We're gonna
have to do another one.
No, we will have to do a part 2 on manifestation. So actually, I might put out a call out for people to, like, what are the questions you have about manifestation?
Yes, that would be really cool. Yeah.
Because of course, like that, like especially things that people are wondering about, and as they try to become the versions of themselves that they want to become, and go after their desires and all of that, it might be like a good way, and then we can just address them. But this has been one of my favorite, as always. All right, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with, your parting words, anything that you want to, like, if somebody's listening and maybe they're in the beginning journey, they're, trying to make things happen, but then it's like they can't, especially, okay, here's the question. That part of like detaching from the thing because they're too focused on the thing, like what tips could you give them so that, they're just, they want this external thing, but they can't let go. Their mind is constantly like, why is it not here? We started the conversation with that because I feel like a lot of people get stuck on that. What would you tell them? What would be your advice to how can they shift themselves into a better place?
So I would just say if you're hyper focused on the thing, you're working against yourself. You're working against yourself. You don't want to, the separation between what you want and who you are is an illusion. It's a dimensional illusion. And so material it continues, right? There's no like literally at an atomic level, we're all made of the same material, the same fabric. It's like one continuous fabric. And so you do yourself a disservice by just focusing on the thing. I understand how hard it is, but I would say shift your focus. Shift your focus to showing up as the person who can see themselves having the thing. Shift yourself to the person who is more confident in their ability to either make it happen or have it, because that's a better use of your time. Plus, you don't want to add more suffering to yourself. It's not worth it.
Yes.
And so separate, like the separateness that you're feeling is just a story that you've told yourself. And so remove that. There's no seams, like there's no and humans, by the way, you can only perceive about in the electromagnetic spectrum or something like that, it's like 0.0035% of reality. It's crazy. Percent of reality. And so there's so much that's working for you that you cannot see. So lean into that. Trust yourself. Don't get frustrated with not seeing things in your 3D, because they have to materialize at some point. Just hold the vision.
Yeah, and I love that so much, because it's like, then what are you denying yourself in the moment? Because it's like, if I get that, then I'm gonna feel love then. When I get that goalpost, are you denying yourself love in the moment? You know, like that suffering of like, I'm not okay if that thing is not here. You can do yourself justice. Don't deny yourself.
Love yourself. Love yourself enough. To know that you are worthy. You are worthy of the things that you desire. And the reason why you desire it is because a version of you knows that they can.
Already has.
Have
there's
it.
so much we didn't talk about, but like I don't want this to go 2 hours. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming back to the Art of Being podcast.
Thank you.
Tiffany's going to come back again because, as we said, we have to do a part 2 on manifestation, because this is a hot topic for a lot of people.
Yes.
You know, and we want to help you figure out this whole journey, you know, of becoming. If you've been listening and if you've been watching us, help us, you know, by sharing this podcast. Rate us on Spotify, give us comments on YouTube, and actually we would love to hear your feedback, you know. And I'm gonna put out a call for questions or for feedback of things that you would want us to dive into. So if you haven't rated and shared our podcast, this is the episode to share with other people, because I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation. And to all those people that have subscribed and rated us, thank you so much. There's 270 something of you, 280 something of you. You know, I imagine a room of like 280 people listening to a conversation like this. Imagine a room of people listening to us. Like, that is literally how I picture it. Thank you so much. And you
remember what it was when we did the first podcast episode, you and I think it was like
below 10.
Yeah, it was like 5 subscribers or something. You're doing very well. I'm so proud of you. You should be really proud of yourself, Bamzi. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We will see you next time on the Art of Being podcast.
I hope today's conversation resonated with you, brought you a sense of clarity, and maybe even challenged you to reflect further on your healing and spiritual journey. If it resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. If you are watching on YouTube, like this episode, subscribe, and share your feedback and reflections. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, Rate this podcast and leave a review. Your feedback means so much to me, and it also helps the podcast grow and reach more people who may need these conversations. You can also find our socials and email in the episode description. I always love hearing from you. Until next time, take gentle care of your soul, mind, and body.